see these lambs, quality lambs. See where they live. I want to show the quality of sheep, Dorper sheep, that is coming out of these simple structures. Hi, my name is Tony. Welcome to Farm Business East Africa. And today I'm in Narumoru. Narumoru is in Nyeri County, but most people consider it to be in Laikipia. So I met up with Alex. He's the owner of this farm. It's a very simple farm. What surprised me with Alex is the simplicity of the structures and the farm. Let me show you. From that is the gate. That is how you enter the farm. Simple iron sheets, fenced around the perimeter. Then this is the entire thing. So this is where you find the ram. The ram will sleep here, different from the rest of the herd. Flock of ewes, and at this corner here is where you have the lambs. So these are the maybe 2-3 weeks, from maybe 2 days, 3 days, a week, a few weeks, maybe some. So the mothers are out there grazing. The lesson here is, guys, you start with what you have, you start with where you are, and the most important aspect in all this is the genetics. What you're rearing, what you're keeping, is the animals, not the structures. The structures are just to facilitate the what you're doing, and make it more efficient and all that. However, you do not need fancy structures. You start with where you are. This guy has some of the best Dorpers I've come across, and because of his systems, the way he's doing it, I am impressed. Look at that. Simple structures. So Narumoru, we're facing Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is over right there. Has a great view, especially in the early mornings. So this is a very cold area. Look at the wind and the speed of the wind. The trees around can, are a very good indicator of how the wind is behaving in this area. You can see from that tree. This is a very windy area. I'm holding my microphone because if I attach it to where it's supposed to be attached, you'll not believe it. This is a very cold and very windy area, but the animals are doing well because they get everything they require. So they are well fed, they are hydrated, there's sufficient water, and there is sufficient minerals. Let me show you how he presents his minerals. So very simple systems that work. Yeah. So once they're back from grazing, they come and start licking the salts. So the salts have to be there. That is the source of the water. There is water, good quality water, not salty water, and that is what they will come and hydrate with. Alex tells me he has plans to put up better structures, but it's a process. It's not a one-day affair. If you're a beginner, if you're going to be to get into this business, there are two ways to get into this. There are two ways to get to the market in this business. The first approach is as a breeder, so where you have pure lines or high quality genetics, which you breed, multiply and sell, and that is now gaining popularity in Kenya right now. The other one is rearing them for meat, which is also what we've done traditionally. At the end of the day, all these animals will end up in your butchery in one way or another. It might go fast, it might go to as a breeder first, but eventually we keep these animals for meat. Okay, but for you as a beginner, if you're getting into this business, your go-to strategy, your go-to market strategy is either of the two. When you're producing for breeds, the animal fetch more in the market. When you're breeding, it gives you a lot of options in terms of feeding, in terms of the structures, in terms of where your location, in terms of the size of the land. It gives you a lot of options because the animal fetch more into the market. You're selling the seed, you're selling value, which you cannot quantify in terms of numbers like kilos, the same way we do in meat when you're producing for meat. So for instance, if I'm buying a ram, I'll look at the ram. If I'm buying it for meat, I'll look at the ram, I'll wait, I'll look at the meat distribution, whether it has muscles in all the right places. Then I'll wait and do my maths, and I'll make a decision whether it suits me or not. So it's very difficult to find a ram that is going for maybe 25,000 shillings for meat, because look, meat, yes, it is expensive, but there's it's a value chain. As a breeder, when you're selling a breed, the dynamics are different. For instance, it is normal for an ewe, maybe even a cross, to go for 25,000 shillings. A ram will go up to 50,000 shillings. Imports sometimes go beyond 100,000 shillings. You never get such kind of money when you're selling for meat. So it's a choice you have to make very early in your venture. In fact, before you bring in your first animals, you have to decide whether you're coming into the market as a breeder or a producer of meat. Now, it is in your best interest as a farmer to have quality genetics. Whichever strategy you use, it is in your best interest to have both of those. In the video today, I would like to focus more about producing for meat, because this is one area that is a bit complicated. I've seen people complicate these issues a bit too much. It is supposed to be as simple as possibly can be. When you're raising for meat, one thing you need to consider is the cost of starting. Number one, choice of structures. Okay, so because this also determines your return on investment. So if you go with very expensive structures and fancy structures, it may be good, may be efficient, but let that not be a priority for you. Let where you are, your location, determine which kind of structures you're going to have. For instance, if the area allows the animals to have the bare minimum, like my friend Alex here has, go for that. Improve your genetics. Make sure you're already profitable before you reinvest that money into fanciful structures. That is very, very important. If the area, for instance, is an area that floods, it's an area with insecurities, it's an area where you are required to have those maybe permanent structures, those heavy gauge doors, metal doors, then go for it. But if it's an area that can allow you to have the bare minimum, please go for that, because you're trying to invest just what is required, then have that multiply money kind of effect. Okay. Number two, the choice of feeds. Okay, it is almost now impractical to produce livestock for meat on any other system other than the free range system. Like you see, my friend here is producing on a free range system. He's using, this is actually private land. All these are plots that have been demarcated. These are plots that have been sold already, but the owners have not fenced. You can see some have been fenced, some have actually even occupied, but majority are not. So he's using that, he's taking that advantage of the space that is currently available. Also, there's a lot of space at the road reserve. You see, this is a highway, and the highway has on both sides, it has the road reserves, belongs to Kenya, and they're taking advantage of that real estate. It's a lot of land. If you look at it from Narumoru to Chaka, it's a lot of there's a huge, because the road is right next to the railways. So if you consider the road reserve for the railway and the highway itself, it's a huge parcel of land. And this area, whenever it gets rain, even the road reserves, the grass is growing, so they are guaranteed to have enough grazing fields for a very long time to come. Whether these plots are occupied in the near future or not, there is enough space for these guys to be grazing here. Now, now you can have maybe a few bales of hay, for a rainy day. You you can keep that. You can, you know, for feed security, it is important. You can do that. So just make sure they're getting in at least 90% of the nutrition in the fields. When they come back here, you get them salts, you get them medication, you get them enough water, but that's the farthest you can get, my friends. If you happen to be in a system where you're buying grain, you feed this sheep that is meant for the meat market, you happen to feed it with grain, you will not recoup your money. That one I can assure you. These animals have very low margins because they go for about 9,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 shillings, depending on size, depending on the weight. It is very, very important for you to be very keen on what you're feeding. The other thing is the cost of labor. Labor can be very, very expensive, especially if you're doing it in the modern way we do. The other thing that is very important when you're producing for meat is the scale. Okay? When you're producing for meat, you require numbers. It is very important that you have huge numbers. When you're producing for breeder, you can do you can get away with a flock of 50, a flock of 100, a flock of 200 heads. You can do your zero grazing. You can do half zero grazing and supplementation. You have those options. But when you're producing for meat, you don't have that option. You require to be on free range. So the one thing that you can do is maybe manage your pasture as well. And the other thing is your market. Okay, so this one is a bit tricky because in Kenya the value chain is very complicated. There are no structures in the value chain, and that is the biggest downfall for majority of the agricultural produce that we produce here. Most people get tired of the hassle in the market and they eventually sometimes just quit. In the sheep and goats production for meat, as if you're now considering joining the market for both, either it's breeding, or for meat production, you are required to invest heavily on social media. Try as much as possible to get into social media and try and connect directly with your potential customers. Show people, teach people, share your journey, share your experiences, your challenges. Let people understand that this thing is profitable, this thing is doable, this thing has been done for hundreds of years, so we are not the first ones, so there's nothing extraordinary about what you're doing, but you're excited about it. The challenges, it's a lifestyle. Yeah, so that is the other thing that I would want you to consider. Invest heavily on social media because it is your gateway to the market. Okay, and it's a one way that we're going to also trim the powers that the middleman currently has. Okay, so if possible, try and invest in try and get into social media. The other thing that I would like you to observe here, because you can see the quality of animals that Alex here has, but I want you to understand them. I want you to generate your own image, in your mind, the lifestyle of this herdsman, of this farmer, the lifestyle of this farmer. I want you to look at it, and I want you to consider the quality of animals that he has. This is one subject that is rarely spoken about in farming. You see the simplicity even in the lifestyle. This guy has animals worth about maybe $1.5 million right now. Yeah, but look at the quality of look at his lifestyle. That is his house. That is the kitchen over there, the black polythene. So it's an investment. He has a choice of selling part of the flock and doing fancy structure even for himself, but it's a choice he has to make whether to do that or to invest in genetics first before you move into that other direction. Guys, this is Alex. Alex is a pretty young guy, as you can see. He's not even married yet, and this is his flock. You've seen where they sleep. You've seen the farm. This is Alex's flock. I want you to Look at the quality of the Dorper, right? Look at this one, eh? These are mothers and the lambs, you know, bigger lambs that are about to win. You've seen the smaller lambs still in the compound back at home. Yeah, so this is the quality of the animals Alex is keeping. Look at that Dorper ewe. So it's not one or two, it's there are many. The quality of the ewe he is keeping. So this is what I'm trying to elaborate, and I hope this serves as an inspiration to you who is trying to start. I need you to understand that the barriers of entry are really, really low. What you need is quality animals, then you set the rest. So he improved the genetics from somewhere. So this is a local Maasai sheep, and he improved. He's in that generation. Some of these ewes, as you can see, like these ones, are born here out of this is of about 80% Dorper. Yeah, he got the breeds, some from a nearby ranch. There's a huge ranch just right next to this field that we are grazing, and they take advantage of that. They go and get quality rams from some imports from South Africa, maybe second or third generation. They get them for about 50 to 70,000, and they'll improve what they have. So he still has a few locals remaining, but this is what he, you know, because he's in a journey of breeding. So he has these few local ones that are for the quick money. This is what if you need medication, you sell one to the local brokers, then you get enough money for the vet. Yeah, well, you're in this journey for breeding, because when you're breeding, you want to improve, and so your selling is strategic. You don't just wake up and sell. So what happens is you don't sell the ewes. You are consistently trying to sell the rams. Yeah, so you sell the rams, you sell like 3, you get one pedigree ram from the ranches, and you breed with the ewes that you keep. So he still has a few local ones remaining. You can see a red Maasai tucked somewhere in between the flock. Yeah, he still has, but all this is a flock of, this entire flock is of mothers. So he still has a few local ones. It is also important that you take note of his system of grazing. Let nobody lie to you that you cannot take advantage of the road reserves. You can, and have quality animals. Don't be limited by the size of your land. He's in probably a quarter acre. That is a maybe 50 by 100 plot. Look at the number of animals he has. This is a good scale. Yeah, look at the quality of the animals, I emphasize. And he's on a 50 by 100. So it is possible to do it wherever you are. Other question that you might have now is, what is his strategy for the drought season? As you can see, it's quite dry right now. Yeah, and we don't know the forecast. What we've gotten so far from the meteorological department is sending mixed signals. They've said in this particular region, for instance, they've said we might get below average rainfall this season. The season is just about to start now in a month's time, and they're saying we might get below average. So what are the options for my friend Alex when it's drought season? He has survived a drought because we recently came out of a drought season. He has been doing this for the last 4 years. Of course, he's a Samburu, so he has been with sheep and goats all his life, but the journey to improve the genetics he started about 4 years ago. There's some level of popularity the Dorpers are getting for the last 4 years. The Dorper sheep has been available in Kenya for maybe 50 years, from the 70s, but the number of farmers that are investing in Dorper sheep for the last 4 years has skyrocketed. There's so many farmers that have just realized the Dorper breed because of the many advantages that it has, and we have done a very good job as a country in terms of improving the genetics. So what is the strategy for a drought season for my friend here? So the strategy is very simple. Number one thing he does is scale down. So he reduces the numbers, he sell what he can. The second thing, he will move to where there is rainfall. For instance, this is Narumoru. On the other side of Nanyuki, Narumoru is 25 kilometers from Nanyuki. From the other side of Nanyuki, they are getting quite substantial amount of rainfall. I was in those areas yesterday. The video is running on the side of the screen right now, and by the time I was leaving yesterday, already there was rainfall. And as you seen there in that video, the pastures are already green. So because they are pastoralists, they understand each other, so he is able to move around with that. So that is the number two thing he can do. And the third thing is, because he's already reduced the numbers, he's able to buy feeds for the numbers he has left. So in case he's not moving to the other side of the other side of Nanyuki, which will be about 50 kilometers commute from here to there, he will just cut the shortcuts. They are shortcuts. You don't move like a vehicle when you have such a flock. So you find your shortcuts, and it becomes easier. Plus you're still feeding as you're moving. The third thing will be definitely to acquire some feeds. That is also an option, because while you're scaling down, you're selling that money, you use it to acquire feeds. Yeah, so that is a very simple strategy. So the other question will be, why won't Alex invest in production of feeds? Okay, so he is a pastoralist, he's never farmed, and as I've said, you've seen he's a pretty young guy. This thing is about information. I am pretty good with fodder management, for instance, and pasture management. Yes, and that is something that, as I'm here, we also trying to engage in. There is nothing that is stopping him from maybe leasing land from this area and planting pastures. Just even if it's just 2 acres, you lease, you plant your mixed pastures, and you store for a rainy day. In that 40 by 100 piece of land he has, he can create a barn where he can store food. That is part of, because this is a continuous journey. We keep learning, we keep educating each other. As I am here, I've learned so much from Alex. We've had a sit down for about maybe 2 or more hours, just discussing things around production. He's an expert in beekeeping. He works for a big organization right next door. By the way, he's not just a pastoralist. He's also a beekeeping. He actually leads a team in beekeeping. My goal was, as I learn, I also impact some knowledge in him of what I might have experienced in other farms, as me and you have been going around acquiring this knowledge. It's a continuous process. We keep educating each other, and for today, guys, I hope you have learned something. I hope you have been inspired, and I hope now you know that where to also get quality Dorpers in Narumoru, in Nanyuki. Yeah, this is a flock, guys. I hope you're inspired, and if you are, remember to give us a like, share, or subscribe if you can. Tell your friends about us, tell your friends about farm business, and hope to catch you soon in the next one. Thank you for stopping by. Bye bye.